Okay, let's dive into a skill that is absolutely fundamental to basically every human relationship we have. But here's the thing, it's a skill most of us, if we're being honest, kind of fail at every single day. We're talking about the art of truly, genuinely listening. You know, the writer Ernest Hemingway put it so bluntly nearly a century ago. He said most people are just not there when someone else is talking. We might hear the sounds, the words, but are we actually listening? Big difference. So that begs the question, right? Are you most people? It's a tough one to ask ourselves, I know, but so many of us fall into this exact trap without even realizing it. Let's start this off with a bit of a confession. The author who inspired this whole breakdown, he had this huge realization one day. Oh no, I'm one of most people. He described his own listening as happening through a, quote, fog of distraction and self-regard. I love that phrase. And this isn't some rare personal flaw. Not at all. It's a nearly universal habit, and it's all driven by that little voice in our own heads. It starts right here. You know the feeling. Someone's talking, but your mind is already racing ahead. You're crafting the perfect reply, lining up your witty comeback, or formulating that brilliant, insightful point. You're not absorbing what they're saying, you're just preparing to speak. Or, hey, maybe this is more your style. You're listening like a hawk, but not to understand. Nope. You're on the hunt. You're just waiting for them to make a tiny mistake, to say something you can correct. You're looking for the weak spot in their logic so you can jump in and show them you know better. And really, it all just boils down to this one thing. The conversation stops being about connection and starts being a competition. You're just waiting for them to take a breath, any little pause, so you can finally say what you've been itching to say the whole time. And the really crucial point here is that this isn't just bad manners. This stuff does real, actual damage. When we don't listen, we're sending this quiet signal that we don't really care. That makes people hesitant to open up to us. And over time, it just chips away at the very trust that holds a relationship together. All right, so that's the problem. And it's a big one. So, how do we fix it? Well, our guide for this is a total pioneer from 20th century psychology named Carl Rogers. And the cool thing about Rogers is he didn't just identify the problem, he actually created a system for the solution. He called it active listening. Rogers' backstory is pretty fascinating. He actually started out training to be a minister, but then he made this huge pivot into the, at the time, new and exciting field of psychology. And by the 1940s, he was developing this completely revolutionary approach to therapy, one that put the individual, not the therapist, at the absolute center of the healing process. This was his core belief, and it was a game changer. Unlike a lot of other ideas at the time, Rogers argued that people aren't broken machines that need to be fixed. Instead, he saw everyone as having this deep internal drive to grow and get better. So a therapist's job wasn't to give you all the answers. Nope. Their job was to act as a skilled midwife, to help you give birth to your own solutions. And what was the number one tool for this kind of psychological midwifery? You guessed it, active listening. So let's really break down the method, because this is a practice that can transform listening from just a passive habit into an incredibly powerful tool for connection. This right here captures the choice we have in pretty much every conversation. On one side, you have the shift response. That's the impulse to drag the conversation back to ourselves. Oh, Thailand is great. I went once. But on the other side, you have the support response, which keeps the spotlight right on them. It seems like such a small, subtle change, but honestly, it makes a world of difference. So, Rogers broke it down into 4 clear steps for us. First, make an empathic leap. Genuinely try to see the world from their point of view. Second, create a non-judgmental climate. That means you've got to hold back on criticizing or telling them what they should have done. Third, just practice patience. Resist that powerful urge to interrupt. And finally, number 4, listen for the total meaning. That means you're hearing not just the words, but the feeling that's hiding underneath them. And this quote right here gets to the heart of the internal work required. Rogers understood that good listening, at the end of the day, is an act of self-control. It means being aware of your own biases, your own desire to talk, and consciously choosing to set all of that aside for a little while, just for the sake of true understanding. So why do all this work? Well, because when you do, the rewards are profound, and not just for the person who's speaking, but for you, the listener, as well. It creates this amazing positive feedback loop. For the person who's actually being heard, the effect is incredible. They feel less alone, more understood. by having that safe space to just explore their own thoughts, they often end up finding their own solutions. You're not fixing them, you're empowering them just by being present. But here's the beautiful secret. Active listening isn't some purely selfless act. Rogers called it a growth experience for the listener. And it makes sense, right? When you truly listen, you expand your own intelligence, you widen your emotional range. You literally get to experience the world through someone else's eyes. It is truly a gift you give to yourself. Of course, this isn't some magic switch you can just flip. Not at all. This is a lifelong practice. You got to think of it like a muscle that needs to be trained every single day in every single conversation. You're going to get distracted, you're going to fail sometimes, but the real goal is to just always keep trying to tune back in. Henry David Thoreau just captured this feeling perfectly. At our core, I think one of the deepest human desires we have is simply to be seen and to be heard. To have someone not just ask what we think, but to actually listen, to attend to our answer, well, that's one of the greatest gifts we can ever give or receive. So here's the challenge I want to leave you with. In your very next conversation, could be in 5 minutes, could be later today, what are you going to do? Are you going to fall back into that fog of distraction just waiting for your turn to talk? Or are you going to choose to be present, to connect, and to give someone the incredible gift of being truly heard? The choice, as always, is yours.